welcome to Outside Extra. I'm Jane, this is Andy.
Hi.
And this is Ellen, and we've
Hi.
seen Borderlands.
Unfortunately.
Well,
Well,
This f***ing movie sucked.
all right. I was gonna interview
Oh, you're
you.
gonna...
Yeah, we're trying something a little new
Right.
today, folks.
Yeah.
In the new studio, we were gonna be a serious, artsy
I'm a new kind of film critic.
movie film criticism, movie
Move
film
over Kermode
film
and
criticism.
Mayo.
You know.
Get out of here.
So, Ellen, what did you think of Borderlands?
Say it.
when we came out,
Say
This
it.
movie f***ing sucked.
well, I didn't think much of it at all.
Oh.
I think
Okay.
That's a nicer way of putting it.
like I just was like that was a thing. Like I didn't even think it was like
You were just about to say I didn't think it was bad. Incorrect. You thought it was bad.
I thought it was
Because
bad,
it was
but
bad.
also like I didn't think about
just
it
didn't
enough to
care.
fit. I wasn't
You didn't
like
care enough about
compared
it.
to like when we came
I
out.
don't
Like
think about you at all.
Andy's
Borderlands.
reaction was like you were amazing, Andy. You came over like you were like that sucked.
Okay,
that sucked.
Andy, talk us through your emotional journey. I think you were quite angry.
Yeah, I was angry at how bad the movie was. I feel like you have to work really hard to make a movie that bad. It's like it should accidentally be kind of good.
Occasionally. Well, let's
It's Eli Roth, who has directed at least one good film, I think.
Cabin Fever.
Cabin
yeah.
Fever. That was 20 years ago.
let's
He's
talk
done it once.
about the film, the stuff of the film.
Okay, so it's like take stuff from all the different Borderlands games and sort of mashes them
Indeed.
together.
Yeah.
But it's basically the sort of main story of the first game, as in trying to find the vault on Pandora and open it.
It is an all-star cast.
Yeah, no one seemed to be having like fun.
You've got Kate Blanchett. You've got
enjoying
Kevin Hart.
themselves.
Yeah.
You've got Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
You've got Jack Black as
Yeah.
Claptrap.
Yeah,
Any
Benjamin
thoughts,
Byron
feelings?
Davis from Red Dead Redemption 2. who
Andy's
played,
favourite, yeah.
played Dutch.
I didn't realise this until just very recently, but Andy had to point out that the guy that voices Dutch in Red Dead Redemption was
He was playing Marcus in this, yeah,
Yeah.
which is fun. But yeah, no one seems to be having any fun. Even like Jack Black, who is obviously an extremely competent comedian, playing Claptrap in this. It was just I don't think I laughed once at anything he did, and it was all like, oh, that just happened, kind of level humor, and like, oh, I'm breakdancing, which I think is like fundamentally misunderstanding why people like the character.
It was kind of like an off-brand Claptrap.
Yeah.
It didn't quite
It's
hit
like
the
Claptrap
heady
is sort
highs
of
actual Claptrap.
pathetically lovable in the games, whereas in this he was just kind of an
Kind of
asshole.
sarcastic. You know, people who think sarcasm is the highest form of
Yeah.
comedy.
Kate Blanchett she looked great.
She looked
she
incredible.
looked
I could look at Kate Blanchett firing
badass.
guns dressed as the Siren all day long.
But she just seemed like bored and she didn't want to like engage with the plot of the film at all, which is like
Same, Kate.
Yeah, I get
Okay.
her. I totally agree with her on that.
yeah, but
Sometimes it looks quite like the video game. Other times it looks just kind of cheap. But occasionally, I'm thinking mostly of the costumes. I'm thinking mostly of Lilith, actually.
Yeah.
Like screen accurate cosplay. I will kind of give it that.
yeah.
Other times it looks like a quarry in Prague, which I think it was.
It was a quarry in
or
Prague.
a Laser Quest
So-
back room.
yeah, so much
when
of
it's
it was
supposed
like
to be
in
a space station.
so much of it was like Laser Quest access corridors.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
we were all having to file out of the laser tag arena because the fire alarm's gone off. Let's film some Borderlands scenes while we've got this free
So
time.
maybe some budget issues there potentially.
I tell you what, like one of the biggest issues I had with this film is
Go on.
that for a game that is based or is a shooter, right? There was shooting in it, but none of the characters, the main characters, even get like injured at all. There's no peril throughout this entire film. Like later on, there's a bit where Lilith uses spoilers. You don't care.
Wait. Are we gonna do? Let's
save
do spoilers
the deep
in the latter
spoilers
half.
for the very end.
So then, if you've not seen the film, you can watch the first half of this video and decide if you want to see the film. You don't, and then you can watch the second half of this
Okay,
video.
well, without
full of
spoilers, there is a bit later on where the characters get like an overshield, and you're like, well, what difference does that make? No one's been hit by anything this entire movie. There's no stakes whatsoever. There's no peril. I never believe these characters are in danger. Even when like one character gets dogpiled by 1,000 psychos, we then like cut back to them and they're like, well, I'm alive.
I'm going to say this film, big fan of the grenade wipe, which is a new cinematic editing technique where you cut between shots by having a grenade go off. When you don't know how else to end a scene, just have a grenade explode.
Explosion.
And that is like punctuation. It's like cinematographic punctuation, if you can imagine.
All the dialogue in this movie was like the most cliched first draft, like first thoughts. Everything was just awful. Like everything that everyone said just came across like fake dialogue from a fake movie you'd see in like a sitcom making fun of one of the characters for being in this kind of film. It's like Tracy Jordan from 30 Rock. Let's take a look at his latest film, and it's like
Tracy Jordan would have been amazing in this.
But it's that kind of vibe. It didn't feel like a real movie, and I spent a lot of it like cringing inwardly, thinking, what will people who watch this think of people who play video games?
No. We're living in a new golden age of video game adaptation for the small screen and to a lesser extent the big screen. We've got Fallout, we've got Last of Us. I think it's going to take more than one Borderlands film to, I don't know, regress the status of like gamers in the popular culture.
That's all on TV, and you've got to like commit 10 hours to watch it, whereas this is a big blockbuster.
Movies? Any good video game movies?
I mean,
Sonic the Hedgehog.
The Sonic, the first one was really good.
Pikachu.
Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
You had Super Mario, and
right.
oh no, I enjoyed it. Like that was one that I took people that don't play video games as much as me, and they were like, that was great.
I think that is why this film felt so regressive, because it felt like we had gone beyond the kind of cliche of the really terrible video game adaptation. Like that was in our past, and that's why this film felt like an artifact of like 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Yeah, like an Uwe Boll Blood Rain.
Yeah, very much like that,
Right.
which I didn't expect much going in, I'll be honest.
But like Borderlands
really
itself,
was
particularly Borderlands 2, is such a kind of like fun, colourful, like wacky characters and situations and stuff. And this just felt so dull and lifeless. It's like the characters were just trudging from one place to another, where they'd have another like horribly choreographed gunfight where no one got injured or was in any kind of peril, and then they'd go, the mystical iridium, let's go to the next location, and then they'd all like trudge over to the next place, and then Jack Black would go, dance break.
There's this scene
for too long.
Talking of like poorly choreographed action and also writing, there's a scene where Claptrap is kind of like unwillingly volunteered, if you like, to go and do a distraction, right? They're like, okay, Claptrap, go and distract a bunch of psychos, right? Because we're all in terrible danger, and we need to get from here to over there on the other side of this set. And so Claptrap rolls out and does like a comedy bit, and they
shoot
him a million times. Meanwhile, in the back of the set, all the characters are like tee-hee, like kind of sneaking along. And then next scene, Claptrap kind of rolls in and is like, hey. And that's it.
Yeah,
That's
it's like,
it.
did Claptrap have to sacrifice something?
No.
Did someone in the cast like suffer some sort of setback? No, he's been shot a million times, but then he goes, and all the bullets come out, and he's fine.
Yeah.
And then they have to find this like ancient artifact in a warehouse full of boxes, like the end of Indiana Jones. And then Cate Blanchett's like, it's in this one.
Yeah, but there's reasons for that.
Yeah, but it's stupid.
There's reasons.
I know, but it's stupid reasons.
Spoilers reasons.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons it's committed a lot of film crimes that previous video game films have done, in that like they did the same thing with the Tomb Raider film, which I really liked. Alicia Vikander, Walton Goggins was in it. Everyone in it was great, but he was the bad guy.
So it's an automatic 10.
Yeah.
What, in the first?
Not with Lara Croft.
Not with Angelina Jolie, the new one.
Okay, sorry.
Alicia Vikander.
Not my Tomb Raider.
Not my Tomb Raider. Hashtag not
Sorry,
my Tomb Raider.
I was thinking of Daniel Craig as per usual.
Daniel Craig was playing Walton Goggins.
Yeah, got it. Okay, sorry, sidebar.
But the rebooted.
Yeah, got
Tomb
it.
Raider.
You did say Alicia Vikander, so yes.
Basically, what they did is they kind of got the plots and characters of two different games, and then they mushed them together rather than kind of follow the plot of the game.
Sure.
They mushed them together, and that's sort of what happened with Borderlands. They took characters and people from different parts of the games and kind of mushed them together and just made up a slightly different storyline.
Yeah, because the presence of Tiny Tina.
Tiny Tina's not until Borderlands 2, but Lilith is Borderlands 1.
And Tiny Tina is actually quite a major character. She's sort of like the character / MacGuffin that
she's sort of
forward.
used like, we've got to protect the child, whereas
which
in
is
Borderlands,
an odd status for like Tiny
Tiny
Tina.
Tina,
who
she's like the
doesn't
chaotic
need
one
protecting.
that she doesn't know.
Yeah, it's odd to
She's
cast her
so-
as like this kid that needs to be like first rescued and then protected,
Yeah.
and then transported and then sort of plugged into some mystical device. Yeah,
And like basically, like they therefore have to sort of like, rather than I think what has been so successful with some of the more recent things is The Last of Us is just a play-by-play of the first game, like slightly adjusted to fit for TV, and
depending on how well you play Last of Us.
Yeah. and then like kind of some more depth added to certain characters. So like there's that lovely episode with the two guys who live in that town, whereas in the game it's sort of like, oh, one of them's already dead and you find them and it's sad, you know? So like they've like bulked it out to have like that kind of like little bit of difference, but for the most part it follows the same storyline. Fallout, it takes a bunch of characters that you've never met and just also sets it in the same universe. You get that cool thing of, ooh, Shady Sands. If you played Fallout 1, you've been there. You know, it has touches, but it doesn't, like, the whole time I was sitting there, like, I did it in the Tomb Raider film as well, where I was sitting there going, well, this one's from this one, this one's from this one, this one's this one. And so what you get is you get these two random plots and they're kind of like together. And then it doesn't feel cohesive. And they try, and basically Tomb Raider, they tried to turn into an Indiana Jones film, and it didn't quite work. And then with this one, they've sort of tried to do Guardians of the Galaxy a little bit, and it's not worked. It's like, oh, a crazy band of people who are going around and shooting guns and having fights.
The problem is it's like two different kinds of sci-fi that they're trying to mash together, and they don't work. They've got this kind of like pop, colourful, bubblegum Guardians of the Galaxy, like comic book style to the visuals and the action, but everyone is delivering this like proper noun hard sci-fi with a completely straight face, and it doesn't mesh. Like the attempts at humour fall completely flat, and everyone takes everything far too seriously, and it was such a chore. Jane, you fell asleep.
Hey now, blowing up my spot. I
think
that
says a lot.
I had a little nap because I was so bored.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't even tired. I'd had a good 8 hours.
You ate a big bag of popcorn and fell asleep.
I ate a big bag of popcorn and I fell asleep. Okay, yeah, all right. I am ashamed, but not that ashamed.
No, I'm saying it's like an example of how bad the film is. That
Yeah,
you
you weren't
noted
engaged.
cinephile,
You were
fell
like,
asleep.
Yeah, if Borderlands is about anything, like if it has a theme, if it's trying to say something, it's probably just shoot.
Yeah, I don't want it to be like so accurate to the game where people pick up another gun and spend like 20 minutes like looking at
I'm trying to
two
take
guns
the kind of long view, like the pulled out view, and like what is this a film about? And it's kind of nothing, right? Which is the problem. Which is a problem, one of its problems. But I think if the enjoyment of Borderlands, I think, like you say, is the characters, is the kind of like the Tiny Tina, for instance. I love Tiny Tina, and it is a difficult role for a young actor, right? I don't have the actress's name. Greenblatt. Yeah, that's it.
She was in Barbie.
I think
She was so good in Barbie.
right. Okay.
Sorry.
I think Tiny Tina is a sort of challenging role for like a very young actor because they can't all be Ashley Birch. But also, like every member of the cast, they were let down by a script that is not fit for purpose.
I think she did her best with what she was given.
It's just so aimless. Like the story is just spinning its wheels, and it's like it doesn't care. And then it gets to the end, it's like, oh, we're gonna go in the vault, and then they go in the vault, and they're like, well, here it is. Now let's leave the vault. And then you're like, okay.
What was in the vault?
Should we do spoilers now? I feel like we're far enough.
Yeah. We're getting into spoilers.
We've got a sense of how we feel about this movie. Mm-hmm. What are the spoilers you care enough to spoil?
So it turns out at the end that Lilith is
a siren.
Which you
knew.
If you played the game,
If
you
you played
know.
the- yeah.
But they set it up as like, Tiny Tina is the special
daughter
chosen
of,
one
Special child.
who is going to
of
open the vault.
Ariadne. What's the name? What's the name of the precursor forerunner? Iridians.
Iridians, yeah,
He's
daughter
like,
of
I'm
Iridian.
the daughter of Iridian. I'm the special. Because it's like, so there's not like there's lots of sirens. There's just like one special chosen one, and they think it's Tiny Tina, but actually it turns out to be Kate Blanchett.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a twist, and she's like, "No, I'm the daughter of Iridian." Yeah, and like,
Phone for the last
obviously,
45 minutes.
like, why are you playing this like some big reveal?
Also, I thought it was a really weird choice that Kate Blanchett has 3 or 4, maybe 5 lines referring to how old she is.
Yeah.
And I feel like someone at some point in like the kind of screenwriting, like production casting process was like,
Well, we've got to explain
we've got to
this.
explain why Kate Blanchett isn't like 29 years old.
Yeah.
Like everyone expects of Lilith. I mean, I don't know what canonically Lilith's age is meant to be, but it felt so like self-conscious that
Yeah.
they keep writing lines for Kate Blanchett with like, I'm too old for this shit, or like, I'm a very old character, or can you believe
Well, audience,
how
you're
old
probably
I am?
wondering why I have all these lines on my face. It's due to my age, you see, my
Yeah.
advanced age.
I'm like, just chill, Borderlands. You don't have to explain this to us.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart is in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he does nothing, and he's not interesting, and it's just Kevin Hart wearing a beret. And he's like,
He's
Hello.
not even like.
Roland is
It's-
quite an understated character.
yeah, but
Yeah.
Kevin Hart is such an over-the-top comedic
Yeah.
presence in most of the films he's in, and then he turns up and he's like, "Hello, I'm Kevin Hart. I shall be driving this car now. We must get to the vault. Well, goodbye. Thank you for coming to my movie. I'm
Screen
Kevin Hart."
accurate, yeah.
Like, why cast him in that role?
Because he's popular. He is popular.
He's popular,
like
but
Kevin Hart.
he's popular for doing the things he's popular for doing, not standing around in a beret being boring.
Maybe he really likes Borderlands. Maybe he's a big gamer. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he said yes to this. Wasn't this film like cast and made, I think, during the sort of pandemic era,
This film has been
COVID era,
in development
right?
hell since like 2015, I think. There was an
2015.
original script for it that got like thrown out the window when Eli Roth came on board, and then Eli Roth had to leave the film, and like there were 3 weeks of shooting with a different director or something.
They did reshoots with not
Reshoots.
Eli Roth because Eli Roth was no longer available. So it's a messy like production from start to finish. I would say.
It's just a disaster. I was like angry at the film while I was watching it.
And he was really angry. Yeah.
It's just so bad. And there's so many other films you could have made instead of this.
Yeah.
I wonder what a Borderlands horror would be like. That's what Eli Roth
Well, the
makes,
thing
right?
is,
Like a
there
horror
is-
film.
Like, yeah, like, please do say in the comments if you know of a particular mission or whatever where this happens. There's this one bit where they're in a dark corridor with a bunch of the psycho characters who have all painted glowy paint on their faces, and they're all hiding in the dark, ready to jump
like a
out
Halloween
at them.
walkthrough, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is basically a Halloween zombie walkthrough. And I was like, when did this? I've played a lot of the Borderlands series, and I was like, I don't remember.
But I don't think that in itself is a problem. You're not restricted to only making a film about missions that appear in the video game.
Oh no, true. But it was also just sort of like plonked in the middle
Yeah,
of an action
for
running
sure.
scene. So it
Oh, you
wasn't
were like, is this a reference to something
I was
that
like,
I'm not
is this a
getting?
reference? Yeah, I
Okay,
was like,
fine.
what is this?
What- yeah, that
and
was
why
a-
have they shoved it in the
my
middle of an
confusing.
action scene? I don't know. So
There
it
was
just
a
felt
needle
out of
drop,
place.
Ace of Spades. Terrible.
Also, supermassive black hole.
Supermassive black hole, which hasn't been cool for a very long time. I'm sorry, Muse fans. Sorry, Eli.
I mean, like,
there you go.
And also, Twilight did it first.
Yeah.
While we're just shouting about things we hated, there's an action scene at the start.
Are we doing anything else?
Yeah.
There's an action scene at the start where a barrel falls off something and then a big plank lands on it to make a seesaw. Like, it exactly lands on it in seesaw position.
Yeah.
And you're like...
Slapstick.
But then it doesn't pay off for like another 10 minutes, and you have to sit and watch this seesaw going, can someone just please get launched on this seesaw, and then this scene can end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
just
I don't
really
think it
annoyed me.
was actually 10 minutes, but I think it just felt like 10
Felt like
minutes.
10 minutes.
Because they kind of like dung dung dung, and then like she's like, and
Jamie
then
Lee
jumps
Curtis
on
looks
it.
half asleep throughout this whole film. Kate Blanchett is angry and doesn't want to be there. Kevin Hart is boring.
The guns
Jack Black isn't
sound
funny.
kind of obnoxious.
The guns
you know,
sound
like
bad.
Yeah.
having watched Mad Max fairly recently,
Yeah.
like the difference could not be more like night and day. That the guns, I mean, the
sound
guns
generally-
should sound good. The guns should be cool.
The guy playing Krieg, the psycho, has got a mask on, and you can't hear like half the stuff he's saying. It's all
Yeah.
muffled.
Isn't that the
and-
point though? Is like that.
No, in the game you can hear he's got all these lines about riding around on a meat bicycle and stuff. It's
Well,
like,
maybe the screenwriter hadn't played the game.
he was like, this will be good.
Entirely
I
possible.
assumed it was a muffled
Yeah.
character who you can't hear.
What
ever.
if we can't hear half his dialogue? Then I won't. I'll only have to write half the dialogue. My job's over, Cena.
Oh.
Good.
I want to quote some lines, but they're all so forgettable that I can't be like, hey, what about this stinker? And you're like, I can't.
Well, the final line where she gets right. I want to complain about how like I think the Atlas character was rubbish.
Okay, so Atlas is Tiny Tina's dad, but sort of like Tiny Tina is a clone.
He
that
just
Atlas
cloned her from
has
some
cloned
blood that
many
he
times.
found.
He's
Yeah.
kind of like Handsome Jack if Handsome Jack
Had
no
all his
mask and was
charisma.
rubbish. Yeah. Okay.
And it was, and I just think he was just like I think you pointed out afterwards, there was this bit where like someone tries to shoot him and he's like, you would have hurt me if it weren't for these Atlas shields that I'm wearing.
Wink.
And it was just like,
Why are you winking at me right now,
like
Game?
it was just explained a little bit too tutorially. And I'm like, this is a film, we don't need this. And I just think the guy didn't quite have the presence. It was the same, wasn't quite as bad, but he had the kind of same problem that I had with the Madam Web evil guy, in that it was just like, you're not that scary. He's not scary. Like you know, he's got a bunch of people standing around him, but that was it. Like I was like, sir, I feel no peril standing next to you, as well as seeing an entire film where no one gets shot.
Yeah, it's like all the dialogue was just so cliched. Like the final line that Cate Blanchett says at the end is like old proverb where it's like, oh, I've got something this rich man will never have, enough. And she says this basically about that guy, the Atlas guy.
Yeah.
She's like, I've got something he'll never have, enough. And they're like, well, that's at odds with your character and everything we've seen about your life is terrible in this film.
Yeah, she doesn't have enough.
She doesn't have enough.
The whole point is that she's like a bounty hunter running around and ran away from home.
You were
lost her
saying
mum.
it had the vibe of like, put something else here. Like this is like a placeholder line. It's got the right rhythm. It's got the right number of words. It sort of has the vibe I'm going for, but it's not right. So replace this later, kind of line.
Yeah.
But then they just never replaced
But then they
anything
didn't.
later.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like it's hard to even criticize because there's just nothing there. It's just a series of boring scenes and then it ends. And you come away going, I think I like Borderlands less than I did when I went in. And that's surely not the intent of the film. Randy Pitchford probably kicking himself. It's like, oh, people like Borderlands less now. They probably won't buy the next one.
Yeah.
Whereas like Todd Howard, he's like, brilliant. Everyone's playing Fallout 76 now.
This didn't make me want to go and play Borderlands in the same way that watching Fallout made me want to pick up Fallout 4 and go, oh, let's go have a look in a vault again. And I think like there were so many like fun things that are in Borderlands that they just didn't make use of, like character intros, like whenever like a boss appears, someone stands forward and it's like and that's been
some fun graphics.
And I'm like,
cool.
that's something that I've seen happen in other films recently. Like I'm sure like the James Gunn Suicide Squad did something similar to it, which also it felt very like that.
They didn't do
but not
Fight
as good.
for Your Life, which
Didn't
should
do
have
Fight for
been
Your
like a
Life,
fun
should have been
Easter
there.
egg.
I wouldn't have like put the Psycho in the party. I would have gone with the Gunzerker, just like a little stocky dude with like two guns shooting everything all the time would like be at least fun.
Yeah,
as opposed to just like a muffled guy shouting and hitting the floor with a big axe.
Yeah, I think they just wanted the mask in there.
Yes, because it is like iconic.
the
It's good for the
iconic
poster.
mask.
But there was
maybe
like
good for the
1,000 other
marketing.
people wearing that mask.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
There's a scene very early on where you're establishing Cate Blanchett's Lilith as like basically the main character of the film, if there could be said to be a main character of the film. And she's a bounty hunter in a bar, and NPCs in the parlance of like video games keep coming up to try and give her the quest that will drive the story forward, and she keeps shooting them in the head because she doesn't want to get involved. And I'm like, please, you have to accept the quest or we can't watch the rest of the movie. And it was like playing D&D with someone who is just like aggressively
won't engage with
attacking
the quest.
every
And that's,
every
of
single
course,
character delivered by the DM.
That's what you want in your main character to take you on this journey. Is
The call
just
to adventure.
aggressively-
I shoot the call to adventure.
Yeah, I aggressively don't want to engage with this story in any way.
Yeah.
And I
Which
With
is
a really loud gun as well, as you were saying, like the guns
Aggressively
don't,
loud and aggressively like unpleasant in the mix, not like in a satisfying Mad Maxy kind of way,
Yeah.
but just like ow, my
Stop it,
Ow.
Kate Blanchett,
Freaking ears.
please.
my freaking ears.
And it's such, because she's got like, she does this really smooth voice for Lilith, and it's just like so at odds with bang, and it's like, oh my god.
There's a bit where she rises, someone smashes her into the side of a crate, and she rises out the top of the crate, blasting like with both guns, and she looks cool.
She looks badass.
Cool. If I saw her at a cosplay convention, I'd be like, you are the finest Lilith cosplayer I've ever seen.
Yeah. Can
I get a picture?
She didn't look badass at the very end. Spoilers, when she turns into the Firebird. There were moments where it was clearly all CGI her.
Do you mean apart from when it was like real fire wings?
No, because like there were some bits where it was her clearly standing there with
Oh,
fire
you mean
wings,
like it was a digital
and then sometimes
Kate
it was
Blanchett.
a completely digital
Okay,
Kate
fine.
Blanchett.
Okay.
And her face just didn't look.
There was a
right.
bit where she like glided across, and you're like, I'm not sure I'm convinced by this special effect.
Yeah.
I think the funniest thing for me, and the thing
Go
that
on.
summed up the movie,
Yeah, please.
was so the film ends.
Yeah.
The credits start rolling. Everyone in the cinema gets up out of their seats. They start to file out of the cinema. And then you get a little mid-credit scene. Claptrap rolls out. Everyone stopped, looked at the screen, and Claptrap went, Claptrap dance party. And everyone just sort of silently looked at this. And then it stopped, and they sort of just went back to no one laughed. No one wouldn't. No one turned to their companion and went, I liked the character
that
of
was a bit
Claptrap.
good, wasn't
Everyone
it?
just
Yeah.
silently, mirthlessly watched this dancing robot and then continued trudging out of the theatre.
Yeah.
And that really summed up the experience for me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just another exemplary thing of like, you said afterwards, and like you mentioned earlier, about like Claptrap isn't right in this.
No.
And like, so much of Claptrap is just being mean to Lilith
In the film.
in the
yes,
film,
yes.
and then like just being sarcastic. And in the game, he's actually just like cluelessly annoying. He's actually just very like positive, enthusiastic in a way that the player thinks, ha ha ha, how endearing.
I think in the fiction of the
But
game, he's annoying
he's
to the
annoying
other
to the
characters
other
in the world. But as
characters.
you
As
as
the
the player, you're
everyone's like, oh, we love
he's
Claptrap.
adorable. It's a very like cargo cult approach to, let's have Claptrap. People like Claptrap.
Yeah.
Is it because he dances?
Yeah.
Here he is dancing.
Yeah.
Like,
He's annoying. Well,
no.
what's annoying? Oh, it's probably being like really cruel and stuff. And
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably wishing that Kate Blanchett's character was dead all the time.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
does
And,
that
like,
work for you?
celebrating when she
Like,
dies.
yeah,
Yeah.
rather than enthusiastically following you around, 'cause he's like, oh, I just want to help. In this, he's like, oh, because I have to.
I've been programmed to help.
I've been
and
programmed to.
I sure
Wish you
hope
were dead.
die. Yeah.
My favourite grenade wipe in the... There were several, like, as I say, my favourite grenade wipe is when Tiny Tina is angry at Lilith because she has mistakenly thought that she's being betrayed.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, well, have this grenade. Throws a grenade at her. Grenade wipe.
Mm-hmm.
Next shot is Kate Blanchett just like sort of lying on the floor, a bit banged up.
Yeah.
She's got like a bruise on like a
She just
on
got
her
grenaded
arm.
at point blank range.
And I don't know if that's because she's a siren or because the film didn't know how else to depict Kate Blanchett having been blown up by a grenade.
I mean, if you don't know how to end a scene, just have someone throw a grenade.
Yeah. Well, now I know how I'm ending this video.
All right, so everyone on three,
Right, everyone,
we're going to throw a grenade.
Remove the pins from your grenade.
Oh yeah, so it's the worst video game adaptation I've ever seen. Here we go, grenades.
Worst video game
and
and
into the
grenade
script.
wipe.